To my right, the Toyota RAV4, and to my left, the BYD Sealion 6. In the red corner, we've got the undisputed champion of the crossover segment here in Australia. And in the blue corner, the new kid on the block, who's taking on every challenge that comes to them. Which one is better? That's what we're going to find out today when we do a battle of the SUVs, right here on Beyond EV, your home for everything BYD. Hi everyone, David here from Beyond EV, and straight up I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Yes, this is a channel dedicated to BYD products, so that must mean I'm going to be biased towards BYD in this contest. I know you might feel that way, but let me tell you that that is not going to be the case. If there is a feature in a BYD car that is worse than its adversaries, I will call it out. The whole reason I started this channel is because BYD is a relatively unheard of brand in the Western market, and I wanted to use this platform to educate viewers on what they have to offer so they can make informed decisions. Yes, I have my own opinions, and I will express them on this channel, but in the end, who really cares what I say? I'm just here to present the facts, and from that, you can decide yourself what you want to buy. Now with that out of the way, let's introduce the first fighter to the ring. Introduced into the Australian market in 1994, the Toyota RAV4 has become the benchmark that all others yearn to be when it comes to SUVs. In the 30 years it has been on sale, there have been 5 generations of the RAV4, and it is the current 5th generation that Australian car buyers fell in love with the RAV4 being the highest selling SUV in Australia every year since 2019, when the 5th generation first hit dealerships. Why is the current generation doing so well? Well, the 5th generation of the RAV4 was when Toyota shifted away from diesel and introduced their Synergy hybrid platform to the RAV4 range, offering better performance with better fuel economy than the outgoing 4th generation. All packaged behind Toyota's badge, which carries a reputation for excellent long-term reliability and very strong resale values. But today, it faces a new challenger in the most hotly contested car segment in Australia, the BYD Sealion 6. While BYD has only had a presence in Australia for around 3 years now, BYD has been manufacturing cars since 2009. The BYD Sealion 6 originates from China, and it is a variant of the BYD Song range of vehicles. This car has actually been manufactured in China since 2020 and is known under a number of different names in various markets. In China, the original name of the vehicle is the BYD Song Plus DMI. In Europe, it's known as the BYD Sealion, and in Australia, New Zealand and the Philippines, it's known as the BYD Sealion 6. The Sealion 6 is technically already in its 2nd generation, as the original Song Plus DMI in China received a facelift in 2023, with that facelifted model introduced into the European market under its name Sealion. The BYD Sealion 6 is BYD's highest selling car and has topped the charts as being one of the top 3 highest selling SUVs in China every year since its release. But will their success in their home country of China be replicated in other markets? Only time will tell. Now this isn't going to be a typical walk around or first look at these vehicles. There's already plenty of those online performed by seasoned auto journalists that have a lot more expertise than what I have to offer. No, instead this is going to be a deep dive into the detailed specs of each of the Toyota RAV4 and the BYD Sealion 6, and this is how it's going to work. I'm going to break down this comparison into specific categories, and you can fast forward to a particular category by using the chapters below or by using the timestamps to my left. Each category will contain a number of specifications, and we'll be going down that list spec by spec, outlining what each vehicle has to offer. After covering all the specifications, I'll tally up all the wins, and whoever has the most wins wins the entire category. By the end of the video, we should have a clear winner in this David versus Goliath battle of the SUVs based on how many categories each car has won. For the first round, we're going to cover pricing, so let's get the battle card up and get straight into it. The Toyota RAV4 comes in 5 different trim levels and 2 different powertrains, while the BYD Sealion comes in just 2 trim levels, each with a different powertrain. So straight off the bat, that's a win for the RAV4. The RAV4 offers much more choice for customers, enabling customers of varying budgets to be able to get behind the exact version of the RAV4 they are willing to pay for. As for the actual price, the RAV4 starts at $47,000 and goes all the way up to $63,000 drive away here in Victoria, while the Sealion starts at $51,900 for the Dynamic and then $56,000 for the Premium, both drive away prices in Victoria. Now I'm actually going to call this one for the Sealion, as if you really have your heart set on the RAV4, it is possible to get behind the wheel of one at a lower cost than the Sealion 6. But if you do want all the creature comforts, it is cheaper to get them on the Sealion than it is on the RAV4. So when it comes to how much you can possibly get for your money, the Sealion offers better value, so the Sealion gets the win. As for options, the RAV4 doesn't have any, while the BYD, you need to pay $900 extra for anything other than standard white paint, so that's another win for the RAV4. Now, because the Sealion 6 only comes in two variants, I think it's only fair that we compare the two closest RAV4 variants for the rest of this comparison. And the rationale behind this is if the Sealion 6 is on your radar, then those lower specs of the RAV4 are probably not. The two variants of the RAV4 that are the closest to the two variants of the Sealion 6 are the RAV4 Cruiser 2-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options. So for the rest of the video, I'm just going to focus on those two variants of the RAV4. Now, if we look at the pricing between the RAV4 Cruiser 2-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versus the Sealion 6 Dynamic and Premium, you will see that even with the $900 paint pack, the Sealion is lower in price between each variant. So for direct trim versus trim pricing, the Sealion has the win on that one. So that covers pricing, and as you can see, we have 2 wins for the RAV4 and 2 wins for the BYD Sealion 6. The Sealion 6 variants are cheaper than the equivalent RAV4 variants, but the lower tier options of the RAV4 mean you can get behind the wheel of one for a lower price if you really wanted to. So for pricing, this finished 2-2, and I'm calling this category a tie. For the first drivetrain spec, I thought it would be helpful to explain how the drivetrain of each car works. The RAV4 Synergy hybrid drivetrain has been used in Toyota vehicles for years and is a tried and tested platform. The RAV4's drivetrain is primarily powered by an internal combustion engine with a supporting battery and motor assembly. You can't use both at the same time. The car will automatically switch from one to the other depending on the driving conditions. The RAV4's hybrid drivetrain is powered by a 2.5 litre, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated engine that is supported by an 18.1 kilowatt hour, 650 volt nickel metal hydride battery cell. Nickel metal hydride is an older battery chemistry that was first used by Toyota to power their hybrids decades ago, and nothing has really changed. They are still using the same nickel metal hydride chemistry in their hybrid batteries. The electric motor, when used, can achieve 88 kilowatts of power, while the petrol engine will get you 160 kilowatts of power with 221 newton meters of torque. Because you can't use both at the same time, peak power is achieved using just the petrol engine, so the figures for the petrol motor are what I'm going to use for its power and torque specs. For the Sealion 6, it's riding on its DMI hybrid platform, which uses intelligent dual mode plug-in hybrid technology that has been developed and used in many BYD vehicles over the years. Now, both the BYD and the Toyota platform are referred to as hybrids, but the way the Toyota and BYD systems work are the polar opposite of each other. The Sealion 6's drivetrain is primarily powered by a battery electric motor with a supporting internal combustion engine. Now, how does that work? Well, think diesel electric trains. The wheels are powered by a battery electric motor that is kept charged by an internal combustion engine running at a constant RPM that is at the peak efficiency of that engine. This is how the Sealion is powered. When running on the electric motors, the internal combustion engine will run at a constant RPM to keep the battery topped up, but when it's needed, the internal combustion engine can also send power directly to the wheels together with the electric motors, multiplying the total power output. So how does that look? Well, the Sealion's internal combustion engine is a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine that is naturally aspirated for the 2-wheel drive and turbocharged for the all-wheel drive. The 2-wheel drive has one electric motor on the front axle, while the all-wheel drive has 2 electric motors, one on each axle. The front motor can achieve 145 kilowatts of power on its own, and the rear adds an extra 120 kilowatts of power. This is supported by BYD's famous LFP blade battery that runs on 800 volt architecture in this car and comes in an 18.3 kilowatt hour capacity. With the Sealion 6, you have a toggle switch that allows you to choose to run full electric only, or with the electric motor and internal combustion engine powering at the same time. With the foot down to the floor and the car using both the internal combustion engine and the electric motors at the same time, the Sealion 6 achieves peak power output of 160 kilowatts on the 2-wheel drive and 238 kilowatts on the all-wheel drive, producing 300 Newton meters of torque and 550 Newton meters of torque respectively. Now looking at these specs here, the Sealion 6's DMI powertrain is clearly the most modern and efficient of the two, so it wins the configuration specs. It's able to produce all of that power and torque with less displacement, meaning less fuel is needed. Another win for the Sealion. The electric motors on the Sealion are able to offer nearly double the power of what the RAV4 electric motor can offer on each motor. A win for the Sealion. The battery, the BYD LFP Blade battery, is the benchmark of the industry, so this was always going to be a win for the Sealion. But why is it better? Higher voltage architecture, safer blade battery configuration, and the lithium iron phosphate chemistry means it won't suffer the disadvantages that nickel metal hydride has, such as battery memory effect and phantom discharge when the battery is not being used. A win for the Sealion. As for peak power and torque, the Sealion 6 wins both, but they are close on the two-wheel drive variant. Now let's look at the transmissions. On the RAV4, it runs a CVT transmission that drivers either love or hate. CVTs allow the driver to achieve peak power throughout the entire rev range, but you also lose that drive field that a standard torque converter auto provides. Meanwhile, the Sealion 6, well, according to my notes, the Sealion 6 doesn't even have a transmission. How is that? Well, it runs primarily using electric motors, which means it doesn't need a transmission. The electric motors are able to achieve nearly 20,000 RPM in an instant, so the petrol engine only needs to come in within a particular power band and switches off again when it's not in that band, so a transmission is just not needed. No transmission means less moving parts, less things that can fail over time, a clear win for the Sealion 6. Now when you put this all together, what does that mean in terms of performance? Well, the RAV4 can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 8.4 seconds on the front wheel drive and 8.1 seconds on the all-wheel drive. Not a lot of difference between the two because they both use the same internal combustion engine and one or two motors, but like I said earlier, they can't use all of them at the same time. As for the Sealion 6, the addition of the second motor makes a massive difference. The front wheel drive can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 8.5 seconds, while the all-wheel drive does 0 to 100 in a blistering 5.9 seconds. This means that the Sealion 6 Premium is actually faster than a BMW X4 M Sport and a Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 AMG. Amazing pace, a win for the Sealion. So as you can see, the Toyota hybrid platform may be showing its age right here, with the Sealions taking a clean sweep category win on Drivetrain. So all those drivetrain specs look pretty and nice, but how does that translate to how often you have to fill them up and how hard it hits the old hip pocket? Well, in this category, these are the specs we're going to compare to figure out which one is the cheapest to run day to day. As for fuel, the RAV4 has a 55 litre tank and uses 91 RON fuel, while the Sealion has a 60 litre tank and uses 95 RON fuel. The bigger tank wins for the Sealion, while the cheaper fuel option wins for the RAV4. Manufacturer's stated efficiency claims say the RAV4 can achieve 4.7 litres per 100 kilometres combined, while the Sealion varies. Because it primarily runs on an electric motor, the fuel efficiency changes depending on how often the petrol engine is needed, and this is determined by the battery state of charge. If the battery is over 25%, then the Sealion can achieve 1.3 litres per 100 kilometres, extremely efficient. But if the battery charge is under 25%, it needs to use the petrol engine more, and the efficiency drops down to 5.7 litres per 100 kilometres. Now, because the Sealion 6 can run at that higher efficiency rating of 1.3 litres per 100 kilometres for 3/4 of the time, the Sealion will be more efficient overall, so the Sealion 6 takes the win. But these are the manufacturer's claims. How do they actually go in the real world? Well, there are a number of reviews of both of these cars online, but according to a particular expert on cars who drove both of these, he achieved a real-world efficiency of 6.3 litres on the RAV4 and 4.3 litres on the Sealion. So based on that, the Sealion wins on real-world efficiency. As far as how often you can go between fuel station stops, with the bigger tank and the better efficiency, the Sealion 6 is able to get up to 1,395 kilometres of range before needing to fill up again, whereas the RAV4 can only get 873 kilometres of range, so that's another win for the Sealion 6. What about the cost? Well, the Sealion can go further and is more efficient, but is it actually cheaper to run? Well, I've run some calculations, and based on $1.90 per litre for 91 octane fuel, a full tank of petrol of the RAV4 will cost $104.50, And based on its efficiency rating, it'll use 11.9 cents worth of fuel per kilometre travelled. As for the Sealion 6, based on a cost of $2.10 per litre for 95 RON fuel, it'll cost you $126 to fill up the tank. But due to its extremely high efficiency rating, it will only use 9 cents worth of fuel per kilometre driven. This means that while it costs more to fill up to the brim, the Sealion 6 is 25% cheaper to run per kilometre of driving you do. So for running costs, the win goes to the Sealion 6. For CO2 emissions, the RAV4 will produce around 132 grams of CO2 per kilometre, while the Sealion 6 will produce an average of around 28 grams per kilometre of driving. The Sealion 6 will produce around 80% less carbon dioxide per kilometre driven, giving it the win for the emission spec. So at the end of the efficiency and cost category, we have a score of 6-1 in favour of the Sealion 6, so the category win goes to the Sealion 6. So far the category scoreline is 2-0 in the favour of the Sealion. The RAV4 has some catching up to do, so let's see if he can do it in the next category. Do you have a dog? 1 kid? 3 kids? No kids? Size and practicality is a major buying criteria for all car buyers, so in this category we're going to compare the main size and weight specs of each car. I'm taking weight into account as well, as that will affect how well each car will handle and drive. A small and lighter car will be easier to drive, while a larger car will give you more room to put stuff in. Or will it? Let's take a look at this category specs. So for size, the RAV4 comes in at 4.6 metres long by 1.6 metres wide by 1.7 metres high, while the Sealion 6 comes in at 4.8 metres long, 1.9 metres wide and 1.7 metres high. The RAV4 is shorter front to back, shorter top to bottom, while sharing the same width as the Sealion. This shorter footprint will make the RAV4 easier to park and manoeuvre in tight spaces, so that's a win for the RAV4. As for weight, the RAV4 weighs in at 1,600 kilograms curb weight, while the Sealion and its electric motors and battery pack come in at a heavy 2,000 kilograms. The lighter weight of the RAV4 wins this one. So that brings us to the all-important spec of boot space. With the seats up, the RAV4 can store up to 580 litres of luggage, and with the seats down it will store up to 1,690 litres. With the Sealion's bigger size, you'd expect it to have more storage capacity, right? Well, you'd be wrong. With the seats up, it can only store 425 litres of luggage, and with the seats down, it can store 1,440 litres. So it's a clear win here for the RAV4. The RAV4 offers tremendous storage capacity for its smaller size. It's both nimble and practical. A very difficult feat to tick both boxes, but that's one of the reasons why it's been Australia's most loved car for so long. A clean sweep for the RAV4 in the size and practicality category, giving it the category win. Do you like to drive, or let the car do the driving for you? Do you like bigger screens or smaller screens? More buttons or less buttons? In the next category, we're going to go over tech and comfort. There are a lot of features to go over in this category. We all know what these are, so I'm just going to plough through them all and expand on the ones that are most important. Infotainment. 10.5 inch screen on the RAV4 to 15.6 inch screen on the Sealion 6. Bigger is better, so a win for the Sealion. An 8 inch dash cluster to a 12.3 inch dash cluster. Another win for the Sealion. Both offer 360 camera view, with the RAV4 offering a top-down bird's eye view, while the Sealion offers a virtual car that allows you to swing the camera around and see it from different angles. Much more sophisticated, so a win for the Sealion 6. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Both have it, and both have it wirelessly. This one's a tie. Wireless phone chargers, the RAV4 has 1, while the Sealion has 2. A win for the Sealion. As for the audio system, the RAV4 comes with a 9-speaker JBL audio system, while the Sealion comes with a 10-speaker Infinity audio system. Now, I haven't heard either of these systems, but more speakers does not necessarily mean better audio, so without hearing them, I'm calling this one a tie. 5 USB ports for the RAV4, and just the 4 on the Sealion. A win for the RAV4. For voice control, on the RAV4 you can control features such as the AC, sat-nav, and phone using the Toyota voice controls. For the BYD Sealion, the voice controls are much more sophisticated and thought out, with the ability to control the AC, sat-nav and phone, but you can also turn your heated seats on, open and close windows, open and close the sunroof, open and close the boot. A much more feature-rich voice control system, so a win for the Sealion. Physical buttons. The RAV4 is not short on these, while the Sealion is much more minimalist. This is going to come down to personal taste, but for me, at the very least, I like having AC controls as physical buttons, so the RAV4 wins here for me. The Sealion comes with a digital heads-up display, while the RAV4 does not. Win for the Sealion. The overall operating system in the RAV4 is Toyota's in-house Toyota integrated system, while the Sealion 6 infotainment runs off an Android operating system. This opens up the Sealion to all kinds of integration and customization options, so for me, the Sealion 6 wins the OS spec. The RAV4 offers 10-way power adjustable driver's seat with lumbar support, but a full manual passenger seat. The Sealion offers 8-way power adjusted seating for the driver, but no lumbar support, and a 4-way electric seat for the passenger. Pros and cons for both, so I'm calling this one a tie. For auxiliary battery usage, for the RAV4, the battery is just there to operate the electric motors when the car feels it needs to. But for the Sealion 6, it can do a lot more. Utilising the V2L adapter that comes included with the Sealion 6, you can use your car battery to power everyday appliances such as kettles or a portable cooktop. Perfect if you're out camping. In addition to this, the V2L adapter can also be used to power appliances around the home if you are ever hit with a blackout. An easy win here for the Sealion 6. Now that was a long section to cover, but with the score of 8-2, the Sealion 6 takes out the win for tech and comfort. Now, onto safety. Both cars offer the full suite of ADAS features you would expect on a modern car, with lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, front cross traffic alert, roadside detection, just to name a few. The current generation of RAV4 was introduced into the Australian market back in 2019, and at that time received a 5-star ANCAP rating, the highest rating you can get. But it hasn't been tested again since then, and the testing standards have changed. The Sealion 6 on the other hand has not received an ANCAP rating as yet. The BYD Sealion 6 is on sale in Europe under the name Sealion for the full electric version and Sealion DMI for the hybrid version. The BYD Sealion full electric version, it has gone through Europe's NCAP safety testing where it received a score of 5 stars in 2023. While they are not exactly the same and there are differences, the European NCAP testing system and the Australian ANCAP testing system are very similar, and a 5-star NCAP rating would generally lead you to believe that it would receive a 5-star ANCAP rating if it was ever tested in Australia. Receiving a 5-star rating in either NCAP or ANCAP in 2023 is important here, as there is one important feature between 2019 and 2023 that would affect the RAV4's ability to get a 5-star rating if it were to test again using today's standards. And that is the inclusion of a centre airbag that would deploy between the driver and front passenger should the car ever get into an accident. The RAV4 certainly meets the criteria to earn a 5-star rating in 2019, but the exclusion of a centre airbag would mean it would most likely get a lower overall score if it was tested today in 2024 using today's standards. Meanwhile, the Sealion 6 does include a centre airbag as standard, which was needed to achieve a 5-star NCAP rating in Europe back in 2023. In addition to this, despite not receiving an ANCAP rating as yet, the Sealion 6 also meets the new water submersion testing protocol, which was added to the Australian ANCAP testing standards in 2023. This protocol tests how safe a car is to operate in floodwaters and requires manufacturers to provide occupants with a way to escape the car if it's ever submerged in water. That is why if you open the centre console of the Sealion 6, you will find one of these, a window breaker. This is a standard inclusion on all Sealion 6s to meet that new water submersion safety protocol. While safety features between the vehicles is largely the same, the Sealion was made to meet more modern safety standards to ensure it was able to receive the full 5-star NCAP rating in Europe. It is close, but the inclusion of a centre airbag and window breaker tips the scale in favour of the Sealion when it comes to safety and features, so the Sealion takes the win for safety. Now, with everything we've just gone through aside, some buyers just want a way to get from A to B with complete peace of mind. So in this section, we're going to go through the service and reliability specs of each vehicle, and here are the specs we're going to measure. First up, warranty. The RAV4 has a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. Your infotainment brakes? Warranty. The ball joints wear out prematurely? Warranty. You pretty much have no costs against any non-regular wear and tear issues for the first 5 years of ownership. Now to the Sealion 6 and things can get a little interesting. The vehicle is listed with a 6-year warranty, which sounds great on paper, but there is a big asterisk next to it. And that asterisk means there's going to be exclusions to that warranty. These exclusions include the infotainment system and some suspension parts, which are covered under a warranty, but not the base 6-year one. Best to have a good read of the warranty booklet to get a full understanding, as different parts have different warranty lengths. So the win here goes to the RAV4 for the easy, straightforward 5-year warranty. Battery warranty. On the RAV4, its nickel metal hydride battery comes with a 10-year replacement warranty. As far as battery warranties go, this is an industry-leading warranty. The Sealion's LFP blade battery comes close with an 8-year warranty, which is standard for the battery across all BYD cars. Keep in mind that LFP batteries offer the best lifespan and the least amount of degradation over time of all available battery chemistries in cars today. So it is very likely that the battery will last a very long time after the 8-year warranty period without any issues. But this isn't a test on lifespan, it's a test on warranty, and on that metric, the RAV4 wins with its warranty that's 2 years longer than the Sealions. Toyota has been a staple in the Australian automotive landscape and have been for decades, while BYD has only had a presence in Australia for about 3 years. So it makes perfect sense that Toyota has 10 times as many dealerships and service locations across Australia, with Toyota's 300 plus dealerships and service centres, with BYD having 30 to 40 and also having support from some MyCar service centres. So when it comes to how easy and how close by support will be, it's an easy win here for the RAV4. As for parts and availability for the RAV4, well, it's a Toyota. The engine and a lot of mechanical parts would have been carried over from previous generations, meaning there will be an absolute plethora of parts available both OEM and aftermarket. Now with the Sealion 6, you might think this would just fail this spec as well, but don't be so sure about that. Why? Well, the RAV4 was introduced to the market in 1994, and in the last 30 years they've sold over 434,000 units across the globe in that time. But for the Sealion 6, it is the Australian version of the BYD Song Plus, which is what it's known as in other markets. The BYD Song Plus hit the market in 2015, and in just this month, BYD announced that the 1 millionth Song Plus rolled off the line at their Thailand plant. That's right, you heard me correctly. BYD have made over 1 million BYD Sealion 6s in just 9 years. In fact, in 2022, BYD made over 454,000 of them. That means in 2022, BYD made more Sealion 6s in 1 year than Toyota has made RAV4s over the last 30. So with that, the sheer volume of BYD Song Plus Sealion 6s around mean there's plenty of parts around for them and you're not going to be left high and dry. The problem is, they're not in Australia. Yes, there are parts, but if you find yourself in a position to need one, it might take a little bit of time to get here. To me, having one part in hand is better than having 100 parts that you can't get your hands on. So for me, the RAV4 wins the part spec. So as some of might expected, it is a clean sweep for the RAV4 in the service and reliability category as it stands in 2024. But will it stay that way for long? BYD is still a very young company in Australia, but I do see them picking up pace as years go on and more dealerships and service centres open up around the country. So, that's all the specs and categories covered, and it's been a tight contest. While the Sealion 6 started off strong, the RAV4 certainly gained ground towards the end. Now before I wrap this up, I just wanted to quickly mention that all the specs and details covered here are based on information I've gathered from the websites of both manufacturers. There is a chance I might have misread or misinterpreted some of the data, and if there are any errors in what I've presented, they are honest mistakes and are completely unintentional. If you do spot any mistakes, please let me know in the comments and I'll add corrections in a pinned comment. Now, with that out of the way, let's recap the categories and see how they stack up. Pricing. While the RAV4 offers more trims, when comparing the ones that match up against the Sealion came out cheaper. However, given the many variables, this category ended up in a tie. Drivetrain. The BYD DMI Intelligent Dual Mode Hybrid platform with its engine-supported electric drivetrain, outperformed Toyota's Synergy hybrid system. The Sealion 6 took this category with more power, more torque, and more flexibility. Efficiency and cost. The Sealion 6's DMI hybrid platform showcased its technological edge by delivering more power and torque while using less fuel, costing less per kilometre, and producing 80% fewer CO2 emissions. This category clearly went to the Sealion 6. Size and practicality. The RAV4 surprised us here. Despite being the smaller vehicle, it offered more interior storage space, specifically in the boot, whether the seats are up or down. The RAV4 took this category. Technology and comfort. BYD shines in technology and premium features, and the Sealion 6 doesn't disappoint. With bigger screens, a better 360 camera, a more advanced operating system, and V2L capabilities, the Sealion 6 was the clear winner here. Safety. Both vehicles are incredibly safe, with the RAV4 achieving a 5-star ANCAP rating in 2019 testing. However, the Sealion 6 being the sister car to the Sealion in Europe that received a 5-star NCAP rating in 2023, which includes features like a center airbag and window breaker not found in the RAV4, it gave it the slight edge in the safety category. Service and reliability. This is Toyota's bread and butter. The RAV4's more comprehensive warranty, more extensive service center network, and the availability of OEM and aftermarket parts made it an easy winner here. So here is the final score. And after all that, I'm pleased to announce that the winner is entirely up to you. Remember what I said at the start of this video? Who really cares what I say? I'm just here to present the facts, and from that, you can decide yourself what you want to buy. Yes, the Sealion 6 won more categories overall, which might suggest it's the better car. But those wins are based on my opinion, and you are not me. Every buyer is different, with unique tastes, unique needs, and unique priorities when it comes to choosing a car. These categories are not equal to each other and hold different weights for different people. No two buyers are the same, and the purpose of this video wasn't to determine which car I think is better. It was to compare these two vehicles head to head so that you can decide which one is better. So, based on what you've seen today, which specs and categories matter the most to you? And which car do you think is the better option based on your personal priorities? Let me know down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this comparison and want to see more like it, drop your suggestions for future matchups and I'll add them to my list for upcoming videos. And don't forget, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. We've got plenty of BYD content coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.